If beauty, money, or status were truly enough, why do you still feel like something's missing? How many times have you looked at yourself and wondered, what am I still missing, when everyone says you already have it all? Have you ever noticed that no matter how much you achieve, there's always a void? Maybe no one has told you this, but the truth is that these pillars sold as solutions are just the veneer of masculinity, not the essence. How many men have you seen with everything on paper, and yet still feel insecure, lost, and needing someone's approval? The hole is deeper than society admits, and until you see it, you'll continue playing a game where the only thing you gain is frustration. Every week, ordinary guys, sometimes even despised by the group, are exactly the ones women obsess over. The center of attention is never the one who tries too hard. It's always the discreet man, the silent presence, the one who holds an invisible key. Why do men nobody takes seriously become the ones who leave the biggest mark, while others who do everything right are forgotten? The secret isn't in what he gives, it's in what he refuses to give away. Those who don't play the approval game awaken something primal: respect, curiosity, and an urge to conquer. There's a psychological key that can turn the game upside down, but almost no one has the guts to use it. Jung discovered this, but only those who dare to face their own shadow, their real self, not the social mask, ever find it. If you're tired of just watching others win, of doing everything right and never being chosen, this is your turning point. If you can handle the truth. Because before you can become unforgettable, you have to face the truth that most men run from. In this video, I'll show you how to trigger the silent mechanism of female desire, and why, when you do, she's the one who will chase you. But beware, just when you think you've found the secret, another door appears. If you're ready, I'll show you not just how to become the prize, but how to avoid the most dangerous trap along the way. Everyone says that status, appearance, and achievements are key, but in practice, the results belie this theory. Have you ever noticed that the most handsome, rich, or influential guy isn't always the one who wins the most women? The truth is, when it comes to female desire, the obvious simply doesn't guarantee victory. Many men spend their lives trying to meet these requirements and still feel like they're always one step behind. What no one admits is that the real game takes place behind the scenes, where the rules change without warning, and the most important signals are almost invisible. Successful men are overlooked, while others with nothing to offer on paper become objects of obsession. Have you ever noticed how sometimes the admired executive becomes invisible next to the misunderstood artist? There's a subterranean layer to female desire that escapes any chart of status or social achievement. The unexpected draws more attention than the predictable, and what doesn't make rational sense is often what stirs the emotions the most. While many bet everything on their image, they lose the real battle, the one that takes place in the unconscious. What truly activates female desire is invisible. It's in the details, the contrasts, what you hide. It's not the car, the watch, or the position, but the quiet energy you convey when you don't have to prove anything. It's the unexpected gesture, the look that doesn't give everything away, the silence charged with intention. Women pick up on nuances. They sense when you're fully engaged, even without saying a word. The real game is made of subtleties. The more obvious you try to be, the less interested she is. The more mysterious, the stronger the attraction. The paradox: the more you try to prove yourself, the less she cares. The less you care, the more she cares. This is most men's blind spot. They waste energy on demonstrations, promises, and sacrifices, thinking they will generate attraction. But the truth is that excessive effort reveals insecurity, and desire feeds on silent confidence. The man who positions himself as the prize, not the beggar, turns the tables without needing to say anything. The female mind is trained to sense where true power lies. It's never begged for, only perceived. Women claim to seek security, but they're drawn to risk, to a presence that slips through the cracks. There's an ancient desire for the unpredictable, for a man who won't surrender himself completely to anyone's control. You can offer stability, but if there's no hint of danger or challenge, something essential is lost. It's the mystery, the feeling that you never have it all, that keeps desire alive. The more you allow her to feel like she doesn't have all the answers about you, the more she'll come back, not for comfort, but for the fascination of trying to decipher who you are. Jung saw it all. Behind every choice, there is an attraction to what challenges, not what submits. He saw that, in the human psyche, what seduces most is not the predictable, but what provokes and challenges limits. The man who questions, who imposes his own rules and doesn't give in easily, awakens something primal. Submission may bring momentary comfort, but never true admiration. Feminine desire ignites in the face of those who dare to be authentic, even if it means going against expectations, and that's where the real game begins. Jung deciphered what most men ignore. Female desire responds to symbols, not logic. There's no point in explaining, arguing, or trying to convince her with lists of virtues. What truly moves her are the archetypes you unwittingly embody. A gesture, a look, a silence filled with meaning communicates more than any rehearsed statement. She senses when you carry something rare, something that can't be copied or bought. Real power lies in what can't be seen but can be felt, and that's where the game of true men of presence begins. Archetypes, mysteries, energies you transmit without realizing it. These are the layers that make you unforgettable or invisible. No matter how much you try to rationalize, your unconscious is always communicating something, and she captures everything. The person who doesn't understand their own shadow ends up being predictable, while the one who integrates their contradictions becomes an enigma. It's these small contrasts, strength and vulnerability, presence and silence, that create authentic magnetism. Deep down, desire is born from what cannot be fully deciphered, from the mystery that insists on remaining. Secret number 1. The true object of desire is the man who doesn't reveal everything, who can never be fully deciphered. There's a quiet strength in those who preserve parts of their own universe, without the need for constant exposure. A woman senses when there's something in you that's not available to the world, and that's precisely what awakens fascination. Mystery isn't about hiding, but about not giving away every answer on a silver platter. When she realizes she'll never have complete control over your inner self, respect is born, desire grows, and true curiosity takes hold. Being predictable is the shortest path to her indifference. When your every move can be anticipated, interest fades without warning. Desire needs surprises, small ruptures that break the automatic and challenge common sense. The man who repeats himself, who responds the same way as everyone else, soon loses ground to someone who dares to be different. You don't need to be mysterious by strategy, but by essence. Being someone who is always in motion, evolving and bringing new layers to the surface. That's what keeps any woman captivated by your universe. The man who protects his own universe, who has secrets and passions beyond her, becomes the most attractive challenge. It's easy to get lost trying to please, but it's rare to find someone who maintains interests that don't revolve around winning someone over. She notices when you don't give up on your mission, your dreams, your own mysteries, and this creates a magnetic field around your presence. It's not about distancing yourself, but about never letting yourself be completely consumed. Female desire flourishes in the fertile soil of respect. She only intensely desires those she can't control. That's why the common with a magnetic attitude become an obsession. The needy alphas become extras. Society sells the idea that only the strongest, richest, or most popular dominate the game, but the truth is more subtle and profound. Women sense the difference between those who occupy their own space and those who crave attention, no matter what the facade says. The discreet but self-assured guy creates a presence impossible to ignore, while the alpha who needs to be recognized quickly loses his charm. What truly sticks is the quiet energy of those who never need to prove themselves. But Jung's secret has a second layer, a hidden risk, a dangerous boundary between admiration and solitude. The more you cultivate mystery, the greater the danger of building walls too high, keeping out not only mediocrity but also real connections. The challenge is to avoid falling into the isolation of a closed castle, where no one can reach you, and fascination turns into distance. Being unforgettable doesn't mean being inaccessible. You need to learn the subtle balance between preserving your essence and allowing closeness. This fine line defines who earns lasting respect and who ends up alone on their own throne. Being irresistible means being impossible to control, but never completely accessible. There's a point at which you become a presence, not by running away, but by knowing exactly how far you let someone in. Strength lies in showing that no one has absolute control over your mind, emotions, or choices. At the same time, you don't shield yourself to the point of appearing cold or unapproachable. The secret lies in balance. You're open enough to be human, yet closed enough to be mysterious. And it's this combination that magnetizes those who cross your path. It's not about feigning detachment, but truly living, fully, with mission, boundaries, and purpose. Feigning disinterest is just another mask, and it quickly falls apart when faced with any real test. A man who has a direction, who knows what he won't negotiate, exudes a rare energy. Someone who respects himself before demanding respect from others. His choices reflect deep values, not manipulative strategies. When you live with purpose, people sense something greater guiding your steps, and this truth is impossible to ignore because it can't be faked. Those who don't negotiate who they are never become anyone's puppet. A man who knows his own worth sets clear limits and therefore doesn't bow to pressure, blackmail, or other people's expectations. He may even listen, but he never molds himself just to please. It's this silent integrity that attracts, because it shows that by his side, no one will find a programmed puppet, but rather someone who knows where he stands. Ultimately, those who dictate the rules of their own game become immune to manipulation, and this inspires respect even in the most critical eyes. Seduction happens when you are the prize, not the beggar, when silence is worth more than any words. There is no power in those who beg, only in those who allow themselves to be desired without haste, without anxiety. A man who understands his own worth never seeks approval, because he already knows that what he offers is rare. Silence in these moments speaks louder than 1,000 excuses. It is in it that resides the confidence of someone who doesn't need to explain who they are. A woman senses when the space between words carries more mystery than any rehearsed declaration. But here, right in the center of the labyrinth, a crossroads appears that almost no one notices, and only the most attentive will catch the fork. There's a critical point where being too inaccessible can become self-sabotage, and opening yourself up too much can make you an easy target. Few see this fine line because they're too busy proving something to the world or to themselves. The true inner game isn't about closing yourself off or giving in, but about knowing when and to whom to open doors. This is the choice that separates men who master their own destiny from those trapped in cycles of rejection. The secret no one tells you. If you delve too deeply into the mystery, you might end up locked in your own castle. There's a price for those who turn their lives into an eternal enigma, the risk of becoming a prisoner of their own protection, inaccessible even to those who deserve to enter. The challenge is knowing how to balance how much to reveal and how much to conceal, because too much secrecy alienates, just as too much surrender weakens. Jung warned, the shadow needs to be integrated, not hidden. In the next chapter, you'll discover the real dilemma of those who close themselves off too much, and how to avoid falling into this trap. Have you ever noticed that many men, once they become role models, end up isolated at the top, admired but untouchable? There's a silent price to becoming a role model or a myth, the loneliness that comes when no one else dares to cross the wall. On the outside, they seem unreachable. Inside, they carry the burden of being unable to let their guard down for almost anyone. Respect grows, but connection diminishes, and even compliments become a kind of gilded prison. This is the castle trap. The higher you climb, the harder it is to truly let someone in. It's easy to become a myth. It's difficult to be loved. The line between being a challenge and being inaccessible is tenuous. Many believe that maintaining distance is a sign of power, but they forget that without openness, fascination fades, and admiration turns into distance. The admired but unattainable man becomes a character in a story, never the protagonist of a real relationship. Desire persists, but it hits the wall of coldness, and little by little, curiosity turns into resignation. The secret is to understand that being desired isn't enough. You also need to be possible, even without being predictable. The unattainable man becomes a statue. The woman is fascinated, but also gives up trying. The initial charm, fueled by mystery and an aura of power, begins to fade when there is no real window of access. She may even dream of the impossible for a while, but life demands reciprocity, exchange, and human warmth. Over time, what was a challenge becomes a wall, and what was admiration becomes weariness. The loneliness of the unapproachable is silent but corrosive. Out of fear of opening up, they end up pushing away even those who had the courage to approach. Jung called this the shadow paradox. The more you protect yourself, the more you risk not living. By building walls to avoid pain or disappointment, many end up preventing themselves from experiencing love and intimacy. The shadow, when denied, becomes loneliness, not protection. The challenge is knowing where the line is between protecting yourself and locking yourself in your own fear. There's no point in being admired by everyone if, deep down, you feel untouchable even by those who most desire to get close. The question no one dares ask: how do you open up enough to create connection without ever losing your crown? The balance between vulnerability and authority is a rare art, mastered by few. Most prefer the comfort of one extreme, either giving too much and losing respect, or closing themselves off so much that they become an unattainable legend. But true relationships only flourish when there's risk, when you allow yourself to be seen without giving up your own essence. This is the dilemma that separates kings from prisoners in their own castle. I leave this riddle to you, because the right answer changes everything, and will only be revealed when the time is right. Not every key fits every door, and not every man is ready to open his own vulnerability without losing what he's built. The challenge is on. Find the perfect balance between presence and distance, authority and openness, desire and reciprocity. Few succeed, because most fear getting lost along the way. But true transformation begins when you face this dilemma head-on and accept the risk of truly living. By mastering the game, many lose control of themselves, becoming cold, unattainable, and empty. The power that was once a source of magnetism becomes a shield against any deeper emotion. The more you hone your self-control, the easier it is to forget that life is made of real exchanges, not just strategies. The risk of becoming unbeatable is losing the ability to feel, to allow yourself to be affected. At that point, what was once a protection becomes a barrier, and fascination gradually transforms into icy solitude. Fascination becomes routine. The woman feels the pull, but never finds shelter, and many give up without warning. At first, the mystery attracts, but after a while, the lack of human warmth drives her away. She realizes when there's no longer room for surprise, vulnerability, or any kind of genuine surrender. What was once desire becomes resistance, and interest gives way to silent withdrawal. This is where many masters of the game lose without realizing it. They confuse emotional dominance with effective isolation, and end up watching the drift of those who could stay. The secret to staying true to yourself is knowing where to open up, showing humanity, but without letting your guard down. There is no real strength where there is no vulnerability, and there is no respect where there is only toughness. The most remarkable men are those who, while knowing how to protect themselves, have the courage to show their imperfections in small moments. The balance lies in not giving in completely, but also in not closing all doors. It's this subtle movement that keeps interest alive and prevents power from becoming a prison. Jung said, "True strength acknowledges its own vulnerability, but does not surrender." This is the point that separates authentic leaders from those who merely don armor to hide their fear. Admitting weaknesses doesn't diminish their presence. On the contrary, it humanizes, brings them closer, and invites genuine respect. A woman senses when there's truth behind the mystery, and this creates a connection much deeper than any display of absolute control. The key is not to confuse opening up with being dominated. Vulnerability is only power when born of self-knowledge. Only those who know their shadows can choose when, and to whom, to show what matters. This discernment arises from the courage to face your own limits and recognize that not everyone deserves access to your most authentic side. By embracing your shadows, you stop being held hostage by fear and become master of your own destiny. The man who knows how to balance exposure and protection builds stronger relationships because no one feels they can completely control him. And that's where true power lies, knowing how to open the right doors at the right time without ever betraying yourself. This is the blind spot of many masters of mystery, not knowing when to be human. The more you hide behind the image of invincibility, the more you miss the chance to live real, profound experiences that transform who you are. Life demands courage to expose yourself, even if it's in small gestures, glances, or sincere words. True magnetism lies not in absolute control, but in the authenticity of those who know how to show vulnerability without losing their own strength. In the next chapter, you'll discover how this balance is tested and why so many fail at the decisive moment. Faced with this enigma, the woman increases her tests. She challenges, provokes, and tries to shatter his serenity. These moments aren't just games of vanity, but deep searches for truth and emotional security. Each provocation hides a question. Are you real, or just another well-constructed mask? A man who doesn't understand this dynamic often reacts with anger, defensiveness, or even further withdrawal. But for those who know the value of their own presence, these tests are invitations to demonstrate solidity, humor, and confidence without resorting to war. Her every move is a silent request for you to prove you're real, not just a mask. Sometimes the test comes in the form of irony, silence, or even small provocations mid-conversation. The goal isn't to tear you down, but to see if there's truth behind your stance. If, deep down, you are who you say you are. Many fail trying to be perfect, when what she wants is authentic presence, not rehearsed acting. When you understand this, you stop seeing tests as attacks, and start seeing them as opportunities to deepen your connection. Here, many men lose everything. They react, give in, or harden too much. By being easily offended, they end up showing insecurity. By giving in too much, they lose respect. And when they close themselves off in pride, they break the bridge to any real connection. The secret isn't in overcoming every test, but in maintaining your composure, even when your emotions are challenged. It's not about pleasing or proving something, but about showing who you are, whole, imperfect, but firm. The real challenge is to hold your own truth without crushing or being crushed. The secret is to respond fearlessly, with presence and even humor, without ever losing your bearings. When she provokes, there's no need to counterattack or run away. Just look her in the eye, smile, and show that you're not affected by petty games. The man who takes everything lightly, effortlessly, proves that he doesn't depend on anyone's approval to feel whole. It's this calmness mixed with confidence that dismantles even the most difficult tests. The power of those who don't react predictably lies in showing that deep down, nothing can displace you from your center. Attraction grows when you're firm, but never predictable, when you're strong but not impenetrable. The secret is spontaneity, responding to the moment without following pre-established formulas, showing that your essence cannot be deciphered by anyone. Those who become too obvious lose their mystery, but those who close themselves off too much become obstacles. The balance lies in surprising, without playing games, being different, but without forcing a pose. When you can alternate strength and vulnerability authentically, you create a connection impossible to replicate by those who only feign confidence. The more natural your response, the more intense the connection becomes, and the closer to the truth you get. Female desire doesn't seek an invincible robot, but a real man, one who knows who he is even under pressure. The final test isn't about perfection, but about authenticity in the face of the unexpected. Whoever can endure this fire without losing themselves earns unquenchable respect and admiration. The test game, in the end, exists only to reveal whether you have roots or if it's all just a well-crafted mask. The irresistible man lives his own life. He cultivates passions, goals, friendships, and doesn't compromise his essence. He doesn't wait to be chosen, because he's already made his own choice, to be whole, independent of the gaze of others. His every gesture carries intention, and even his silences say much more than words. Those who observe him feel the difference. There's a calm firmness, a glow that doesn't depend on applause, only on authenticity. Attraction happens because, deep down, everyone seeks someone who is a real role model, not just another character in the social game. He knows that it's only worth opening the castle doors to those who deserve to enter. This selectivity isn't arrogance, but the result of self-knowledge and self-respect. A man who recognizes his own worth doesn't surrender out of neediness or fear of being alone. He waits for the right time, the right person, without rushing. This makes any achievement carry weight, because it's not the result of tactics but of true choice. Only those who feel complete alone can choose relationships that add value, never relationships that fill a void. When he combines mystery with truth, he creates a force that magnetizes and confuses, but never tires. The balance between enigma and transparency makes him impossible to pigeonhole. The woman feels she'll never have complete control, but there will always be something new to discover. This dynamic keeps interest alive because there's no emotional routine. There's always a universe to be explored, without sacrificing honesty. The secret is to never become predictable, but also to never deceive. It's this authenticity that separates genuine desire from fleeting interest. He's desired for being unique, not for being unattainable. The man who has his own life and doesn't revolve around impressing stands out effortlessly because he's not competing with anyone but himself. Rarity in this context is the result of solid values and a personality that doesn't bow down for fear of rejection. He doesn't just arouse curiosity, he inspires admiration, respect, and even a certain mystery. Deep down, what attracts is the feeling of being in front of someone who can't be bought, copied, or tamed. She understands, she can try, she can test, but she'll never have absolute control, and this ignites primal desire. No matter how much she investigates or challenges, there will always be a piece of you reserved only for those who truly deserve it. It's this uncertainty, this invisible limit, that keeps the flame of interest burning. Every attempt to decipher becomes an invitation to delve deeper, but never a promise of total possession. The man who masters this art awakens an attraction that's difficult to explain, but impossible to ignore for those who approach. But the enigma remains: how to be accessible without losing yourself, and how to create intimacy without losing your majesty. This is the point of tension that confounds even the most experienced. Letting someone into your world, without losing respect or giving up your own identity, requires balance and awareness. Many fail for fear of appearing vulnerable. Others dissolve trying to please too much. The real challenge is to maintain presence, truth, and selection, without ever sacrificing what makes you unique. The next step is to unlock this secret in practice. It won't be long before we reveal the answer and show how to truly unite power and connection. This is where many get lost. They try to be strong and end up cold, or they try to be open and become predictable. Balance is a narrow road, where each step requires self-knowledge and courage not to lose yourself. The enigma of the female mind, after all, isn't just about her. It's about how much you sustain your own worth in the face of desire. Get ready, because now you'll discover how to cross the threshold between mystery and surrender, and change the game forever. The ultimate secret isn't to be a wall nor an open window. It's to be a door, solid, yet capable of choosing who passes through. The truly irresistible man doesn't build insurmountable barriers, but he also doesn't allow himself to be crossed by just anyone. He understands that value lies in being selective, without becoming a prisoner of his own pride. This stance requires self-knowledge and a confidence that doesn't depend on external approval. Ultimately, only those who can decide when to open and when to close are truly masters, and for those who are worth doing so. If you never reveal anything, you become a statue of ice. If you give everything away, you become a carpet. The balance between maintaining mystery and offering truth isn't automatic. It's a daily choice, made through small gestures and invisible boundaries. Showing too much weakens magnetism. Hiding everything destroys any chance of real intimacy. The challenge lies in learning to balance, giving access to those who deserve it, and keeping your distance from those who only want to consume without building. This discernment is what separates remarkable men from forgotten men, even after a great passion. The point is to make room for connection, but maintain your own inner law above any passion. No healthy relationship survives when you sacrifice yourself to please or try to be something you're not. Staying true to your principles doesn't mean being rigid, but knowing how flexible you are. When you live by your rules, respect comes naturally, and with it, lasting desire. Only those who preserve their own truth are capable of creating connections that truly transform, not just consume. You select, not beg. You welcome, but you don't dissolve. This is the difference with a man who masters his own worth. He doesn't seek to fill others' voids, nor does he accept any presence simply to avoid being alone. His energy is one of abundance, not scarcity, and therefore he can be generous without fear of being used. Selection is natural, not arrogant, and arises from the understanding that reciprocity is the true criterion for intimacy. When you learn to give without losing, you become unbeatable in the game of desire. Only this way can lasting desire be created, without losing respect. A man who knows how to balance surrender and mystery keeps the flame of curiosity alive, because he never lets himself become predictable or banal. Respect is born when she feels that, no matter how close you are, there will always be something in you that cannot be controlled. It's not about playing hard to get, but about maintaining your own self-control, even in the midst of passion. The secret is to never let yourself be dominated by the fear of loss or the need to be accepted. Only then will desire remain alive. Now it's time to show you how to do it in practice and reveal the double secret of attraction. Knowledge without application is just theory, and true transformation only happens when you put the teachings to the test in your daily life. The next step is understanding how to unite power and connection without sacrificing your essence. This is where many fail. They know what to do, but are afraid to step outside their own norm. But that's exactly where the difference comes. When you decide to act consciously, not out of impulse or need, the time has come to cross the final portal. The journey thus far has prepared you to see beyond appearances and become master of your own desire. Now, the invitation is simple. Dare to live the balance between mystery and surrender, without fear of losing yourself or opening up. Only those who cross this door discover true power and the freedom of never again being held hostage by approval or loneliness. In the next chapter, I'll show you how to apply this path to your daily life, transforming theory into presence and real connection. The first key: only those who can never be completely controlled, but also never close themselves off forever, are irresistible. It's not about manipulating or creating artificial distance. It's about maintaining your autonomy while allowing her to perceive your truth. A man who closes himself off too much loses the opportunity for connection. One who surrenders himself completely loses respect. Balance arises from the awareness of who you are and what truly matters. Only then does desire blossom naturally, without the need for tricks or cheap games. The second key: select those who deserve to see your weaknesses. Be whole, not impenetrable. Showing vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but of conscious trust. It's different to allow access to those who add value than to open yourself up to any momentary curiosity. When you filter your exposures, you maintain control over your energy and still awaken genuine desire. The man who masters this creates intimacy without ever losing authority. And this is the basis of the quiet power she feels without needing to understand. The exercise: practice being reserved for 7 days, but choose a moment to show something authentic without seeking approval. It's not about testing her patience, but about training your own awareness and presence. Each genuine gesture strengthens your inner value, showing that you act from within and not to impress. By maintaining this practice, you'll realize how small, calculated revelations generate real impact, creating connection without submitting. It's a practice of balancing mystery and authenticity, which transforms desire into solid admiration. Always reflect. Are you protecting your worth or hiding out of fear? It's easy to confuse self-care with isolation and reserve with coldness. The difference lies in intention. Protecting what's yours strengthens presence. Closing yourself off out of insecurity erodes authenticity. Observing your own motives allows you to act consciously and prevents you from becoming predictable or desperate for approval. This constant exercise in reflection is what transforms poise into power and attentiveness into genuine magnetism. Share in the comments. When have you lost yourself most? Giving in too much or closing yourself off too much? Which response changed everything? Reflecting on your own extremes allows you to recognize patterns that undermine your magnetism and improve the way you present yourself. Interacting this way is not only an exercise in self-knowledge, but also creates engagement and a sense of community with those seeking evolution. Acknowledging your mistakes and victories strengthens the awareness that true desire arises from authenticity and constant balance. If this video changed your perspective, subscribe and like it. The greatest secret of the female mind is this: she desires a man who has his own code and doesn't surrender power or lock the door. It's not about manipulation, but about authentic presence, responsibility, and the courage to be whole. Those who master this transform desire into real connection, respect, and lasting attraction. Practicing this balance daily creates a strength that can't be bought, taught, or copied. It can only be lived.